My brother broke the law in the worst way. The district attorney refuses to press charges. The detective sat across from me in the hospital cafeteria and explained why my brother wouldn't be arrested for what he'd done to Amanda Cortez. Detective Rachel Winters had been investigating for 3 weeks, compiling witness statements, medical records, and security footage showing my brother Keith leaving Amanda's apartment at 2:47 a.m. on October 8th. Amanda had been found 6 hours later by her roommate, unconscious on her bathroom floor with a skull fracture, broken ribs, and internal bleeding. She'd been in a medically induced coma for 11 days. The evidence pointed clearly at Keith, a senior prosecutor in the district attorney's office who'd been dating Amanda for 4 months. But District Attorney Leonard Voss had personally intervened, Winters explained, ordering her to close the case without filing charges. She'd written her report 3 times, each version sent back with instructions to find alternative explanations. Voss claimed insufficient evidence despite security footage, the 911 call Amanda made before losing consciousness where she named Keith, and DNA evidence under her fingernails. Winters looked exhausted and angry. She'd been a detective for 19 years and said this was the most clear-cut domestic violence case she'd ever seen buried by her own office. She'd requested this meeting because she wanted someone in Keith's family to know the truth before it disappeared completely. She said Amanda deserved that much. I sat there holding my coffee cup so tightly, my knuckles went white, trying to process what I was hearing. My brother Keith was 42, Harvard Law School, decorated prosecutor with a conviction rate that made his career. He'd put away murderers, rapists, organized crime figures. The idea that he'd beaten his girlfriend nearly to death seemed impossible, but Winters showed me the medical examiner's photographs on her phone, and I had to turn away. Amanda's face was unrecognizable, swollen and discolored. Her left eye socket fractured. Winters said the injuries were consistent with sustained assault, multiple impacts over at least 20 minutes. Someone had done this methodically, not in a moment of rage. Amanda had fought back based on defensive wounds on her arms and the tissue under her nails, but she'd been overpowered. The security camera in her apartment building's lobby showed Keith entering at 11:53 p.m. and leaving at 2:47 a.m., his shirt untucked and face scratched. Winters had interviewed him once before Voss shut down the investigation. Keith claimed he'd left Amanda's apartment at midnight after an argument about their relationship. He said she'd been fine when he left, upset but uninjured. He had no explanation for the security footage showing him leaving hours later or the scratches on his face except to say he must have been mistaken about the time. His alibi for the hours in between was that he'd driven around thinking. No witnesses, no credit card receipts, no GPS data, because he'd turned off his phone. Winters said it was the weakest alibi she'd ever heard, but it didn't matter because Voss wouldn't let her pursue it. I asked why Voss was protecting Keith, and Winters said that was the question that had been keeping her awake for 3 weeks. She'd worked dozens of cases with Keith as the prosecutor and knew he was Voss's protege. Voss had personally recruited Keith from the Manhattan DA's office 5 years ago, promising him a fast track to a judgeship. They had weekly strategy meetings, attended conferences together, and Voss had publicly stated that Keith would be his successor when he retired. That relationship created a massive conflict of interest, but Voss refused to recuse himself. When Winters had suggested bringing in the state attorney general's office, Voss had threatened her with insubordination charges. She'd contacted Internal Affairs, but they reported directly to Voss. She'd reached out to the state police, but without the DA filing charges, they had no jurisdiction. She was trapped in a system designed to protect its own. Winters said she was telling me this because she'd exhausted official channels. She couldn't go to the press without losing her job and pension, and she had 3 kids in college. But she thought if someone outside the system knew the truth, maybe they could find another way. Then, she slid a flash drive across the table that contained copies of everything, and that's when things took a turn I never expected. Full story is linked below, or on my channel.